we've talked about the Jaguars. It is now on to tomorrow. Tomorrow. Can you guys believe it? Tomorrow night? Tomorrow
Jesus.
night's matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Guys, this is a huge game. Huge, monumental game. I think it means more to the Dolphins than it does to the Bills, as a matter of fact. Because the Bills have kind of been the boogeyman for the Dolphins. Since Josh Allen has taken over as quarterback for them, the Dolphins have just a supremely tough time with this Buffalo Bills team. And a lot of that has to do with Josh Allen. A lot of that has to do with Sean McDermott coaching that defense. But the fact of the matter is, if the Dolphins are supposed to take themselves seriously, if they're supposed to get the rest of the NFL to take them seriously, they need to knock off the team that's been the kings of their division for the past 5 seasons. So this is a huge game. They get it in week 2, and they get to kind of make a statement here. I want to know your guys' initial thoughts on it. So, Steve, I'm going to go to you first, man. The huge game. Give me your thoughts, man.
I love what you said, but I think it's a must-win for both teams just as much. Just because we play each other so early in the season and we're done with it, we don't play each other at the end of the season for grabs of the AFC East title. And I think it's going to come down to us and the Bills. And I think, if one of the two teams gets swept, God forbid it, I think we have a chance to sweep the Bills. I really do. But if the Bills get swept, they're leaving it in the hands of other teams to make the playoffs because they won't have the opportunity to play us later when it really, really counts. So I think it's a must win for both teams. I think both teams are going for a full sweep here. I don't think a 50-50 is going to do it.
I'll take a 50-50 after the past couple seasons, though.
I definitely would, but I with how early we're playing each other, nothing's going to help better than just a full sweep because we're not leaving it in the hands of wins and losses of other teams later down the season.
True. Josh, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this season it's going to be 50-50. I think we split. And I think the home field advantage wins out, right? So, I mean, I think both games are going to be very close. I think the Bills have, whether it be through players leaving in free agency or players not starting because of injury, I think that they've taken a slight step back. I mean, I'm not in any way shading the Bills. I think they are a solid football team. I mean, you have Josh Allen, and I'm puking in my mouth as I say this, but one of the best quarterbacks in this league for a reason. Yeah. I think there are things that we can do based on week 1 to limit his effectiveness. It's just a matter of if we can do them or not. And I think we've spent this entire offseason as a franchise working and making the moves and making the chess pieces, putting them where we need them to be to combat the Bills, not the Jets, the Patriots are the Patriots. Good win for them, but they're not going to get many more. I think the moves that we made specifically, if you look at the linebacker position, right? We got 3 down linebackers, if you will, depending on formations. We have won. PT just took it out of my mouth. We won 2 of the last 15 games against the Bills, but I think this will be a close one. I think, especially after everything that went on, whether it be before the game or during the game last week, I think the team comes ready to play. And I think this is a stamp on the season. I think this is at the end of the season when we are in the playoffs, I think, and I will say this, I think both teams are going to make the playoffs. I have the Dolphins winning the East by a 1-game margin, but I think both teams will look back at this week and realize that the winner of this game is the reason why that team wins the East.
Okay. Anthony, what are your initial thoughts on this game, man?
I felt much more confident about this game 4 days ago. Seeing Josh Allen do Josh Allen things in a game that they had no right winning. Seeing our offense struggle as much as it did, albeit against a stronger defense, I think, than what the Bills are currently sporting, but still. I'm scared. I mean, if I had to put my emotions into one word, it's scared. I don't want to see another blowout. As Preston put in the chat, 2-13 against the Bills in the last 15 games. It's been a very hard time to be a Dolphins fan. So, in New York especially. But, Yeah. I think I sum up my initial thoughts. We'll get more into it. I assume as we go through,
Yeah.
we'll get matchups and stuff like that. But my initial thoughts are fear that we're going to once again not live up to the hype that we've built.
Well, you know, if you guys know me, the team I hate the most in the NFL is the Buffalo Bills. We all grew up around the same time. We're all millennials. We all grew up watching those '90s Bills just break our hearts year in, year out, and that left a stamp on me. You know, so of course, as soon as the Dolphins get good, the Bills just a little bit better, right? Of course, that's just how it goes down. I want this game so bad. It kills me that the Dolphins are 2-13 in their last 15 against the Bills. I was always of the mindset, I don't care. The Dolphins only have to win 2 games a season, and it's against the Buffalo Bills, and they haven't been doing it. Bills week just gives me agita that you it just I haven't been sleeping. I haven't been eating. I need this game to be over. I need the Dolphins to win. Why do the Bills always have our number? I'll start off with you on this one, Anthony.
Josh Allen. I mean, that's the
Yep.
the differentiator. I mean, they did have our number before he arrived, and they did have our number after he arrived. So,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, the defensive coordinators we've had have been unable to come up with a plan for Josh Allen. If we stop him throwing the ball, he runs for 200, right? If we stop him running the ball, he throws for 4. So we haven't been able to find a way to just all around stop him from dominating in these games. And gosh, that's why I'm so nervous about this game now. It's one of the most frustrating games to watch as a Dolphins fan. Any division games, really. It's probably the most angry I get throughout the year. It's watching the Dolphins play a division opponent. It's because Josh is so freaking good, right?
Yeah.
And even though Tua can go toe to toe with him, it just doesn't seem to be enough because the defense just melts.
Yeah.
And it's so.
And if you want more evidence about how good Josh Allen is, go back and watch that game last week against Arizona.
It was so disgustingly good.
Dude just strapped on a cape and willed that team to victory. He's.
But I will say this, though. I will say
Annoying.
this, and I said this to my friend, Mr. Stinklefritz, who is actually coming over to watch the game tomorrow, who's a massive Bills fan. And I said this to him in our group chat. You know, I think with the weapons that the Bills have lost, I think a lot more has been put on Josh Allen's shoulders. And I'm not saying that he can't carry him, right? I mean, he did it last week. But I think if you look over the course of a long season, my question is to the Bills, can he sustain it, right? Because you're talking about a guy that's now accounted for 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns. He's already slightly injured. It's nothing. It's non-throwing wrist injury, no big deal, fine, cool. But that could play a part in the game tomorrow because if he scrambles and we can force him to change hands with the ball, that weaker wrist that is slightly injured could prove to be a problem. And I wonder if the longevity of the season and him having to rush, pass, do all of it for the team, if he ends up not healthy towards the end of the season, which none of us want to see because we want every team at their best, obviously. But
yes,
I'm wondering about that.
Absolutely. Just going to the chat real quick. Josh always has a good game against Miami. Yeah, he does.
He does.
I mean, I say the Bills are the boogeyman. In reality, Josh Allen is the boogeyman for the Miami Dolphins. He crushes us every time. What are the keys to stop him? I wish I knew, man. Because go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I can think of and you're not stopping. I mean, let's all be very, very clear on this. Everyone in the chat, all of us on the show, you're not stopping Josh Allen. We have to slow him down. Yeah. And there's a huge difference there because I think if you look at Josh Allen over the last 4 or 5 years, and this is from a Dolphins perspective. So the Bills fans in the chat, I'm sure you might disagree, and that's totally cool. But I think he's not known for being an overly accurate quarterback in the intermediate and the short game. And he's not known for being a very good pocket. He doesn't have very good pocket presence. Where he is probably the best in the league is when he improvs, right? When the pocket collapses and he has to roll out and he has to make 6 jukes and stiff arm 5 guys and launch it 80 yards down the field, because he's got a howitzer attached to his shoulder.
Yeah,
That's where he is the best in the league, in my opinion, honestly, hands down. And I think his safety blankets, which were known as Dolphins killers, and Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, are no longer there. Now, Shakur, I forgot how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
He's their, in my opinion, their only serious deep threat, and he's really good. I am a Florida State graduate, so the fact that they have Keon Coleman infuriates me, but he's a big-bodied, fast MFer, and he is those 50-50 balls that Josh Allen loves to howitzer down the field. He's going to be a problem. And then you factor in their 2 tight end sets, which I believe they have the 2 best tight ends. They have the best tight end room as a whole in the league. They have problems, but if we can prevent Josh Allen from scrambling and making plays on the fly, keep him within the pocket, make him get to his second or third or fourth read, I think we can slow him down enough to win this game.
Steve, what do you think, man?
I think getting him out of the pocket and having a spy, using our fast linebackers, I think this is the game where our fast linebackers come into play, because as I said before, Josh Allen's game is going to be different. He's going to have to use his feet a lot more again. So I think with, our pass rushers and Phillips and Campbell and Sealer, I think we have enough firepower to kind of get Josh running around the pocket a little bit, that he's not going to really be able to use his legs as much as he was in Arizona. I didn't see a whole lot of spying on him. I didn't watch the game, but I did go and watch all the highlights and everything. And it kind of just seemed like it more or less seemed like that Buffalo kind of just let it get away and they were just playing pick up the whole way. But their defense didn't, or their offensive line didn't really look like they had too much of a struggle, because the defense didn't really apply all that much pressure. I mean, they were able to score those 32 points pretty quickly after our already being down. It kind of, I think Miami's going to be able to apply way more pressure than the Arizona Cardinals were able to apply. And I think that's going to throw Josh off. I think the tides turn, and pun is definitely intended with that. So, yeah.
And I do think Brown and Dawkins, both of their offensive tackles are problems. I mean, they are athletic, they're strong, they're mountains of men.
Yeah.
I think the interior offensive line of the Bills can be taken advantage of, which
they just got a new center, and I don't know Mitch Morris, I believe.
No, Mitch Morris left. He was there.
He left. Yeah, that's who was their center. So they just got a new center. I don't know a whole lot about him.
He's pretty decent from what I hear, talking with friends of mine that are Bills fans, but their guards I worry about, which is a good thing, in a good way, because they're a problem.
Yeah, I noticed that we sent a lot of pressure down the middle against Jacksonville, and I think that's the key to stopping Josh Allen, is sending pressure down the middle and not from the outsides, because I think our fast linebackers are going to be able to hold them edges.
Yeah.
He's going to run. There's no doubt about it. I mean, his receivers all together. I mean, Coleman was his leading receiver with 4 receptions, 51 yards. Like, he's going to run. He has no faith in these guys. Hollins has 2 for 25 and a touchdown. Shakir had 3 for 42 and a touchdown. Like, that's not that impressive. If you have them for fantasy, you're only happy because they got the touchdowns. The Josh Allen wasn't throwing up the craziest numbers. He just made it look really good with 4 touchdowns because he did it himself. It's not like he had any help, and I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of offensive line help either. And unless something happens in this receiver core, I really don't see Buffalo being that big of a threat in the AFC East. I kind of see them being a little flat. James Cook's not going to be able to do everything, and Josh Allen's not going to be able to do everything. He's already got a bum left hand. To start off the season, it's already wrapped up. He's already probably going to play a lot of shotgun. So therefore, the run's not going to work that well, and if they're going to be relying on James Cook, I don't think this game's going to be the game that.
Steve, I'm having a hard time with what you're saying, man. I'm having a hard time because
I wish I was as confident as Steve. I'll say that.
Yeah.
No, I love it.
I-
I love it.
I wasn't
But
all that
until we
impressed.
do it,
I mean, they did it against the Cardinals.
no,
You
but
guys heard
until
how I
we do
felt
it
about
consistently against the Bills, we have no right to sit here and say, "Oh, they're
Yeah.
they're going to struggle," because they always find a way to do it.
So
Now,
all
but
them
this isn't a
past-
Bills. This is not a
all-
Bills podcast, right?
Yeah.
But
all them past seasons, we never had a stable head coach. Granted, we did get swept last year. I'm not putting that beside, but we've never really had stable coaches. We've never had a stable quarterback. We've never had stable receiving cores. We've had decent defenses that kind of held us afloat when Ronnie Brown was doing all of our offensive production. Like this, we have a real offense here. We have, and Buffalo's actually regressing in their offense. They've done nothing in the offseason that's telling me that they're going to be as powerful as they were last year. And I think we've only gotten stronger. I really don't see how Buffalo's. I see how Buffalo can win. I mean, we played like junk against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If we play like that, it's a tough game. But if we play up to our potential, and Buffalo, if that was Buffalo's potential against that Cardinals team, I don't see us having a big issue with them. I mean, the Cardinals aren't going to be a threat in their division. So
I will say this, though, where I do agree slightly with Steve, and I'm going to be careful with the powers that be that listen to all of this stuff and make the outcomes of the game. No, I'm kidding. They also, taking into account what they lost already, Teron Johnson, right, second team All-Pro last year, is a massive part of their 4-2 style that they play on defense. Out of the game, he plays in the slot in the nickel. Coupled with Milano being injured, Smoot, their fourth defensive end, I think he's their fourth defensive end, is also out, I believe.
Yeah.
Tyler Rapp, DeMar Hamlin in the back ends. I mean, their defense, their front is incredible. I mean, Greg Rousseau, AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Von Miller, maybe taking a step back, but he's still Von Miller. And their interior defensive line is not too shabby. Linebackers, cornerbacks, and safety is where we're going to win this game, in my opinion. And we'll see what happens.
All right, so let's Anthony, I haven't heard from you in a while, man. Give me some matchups that you're looking forward to in this game. What do you think, man?
Yeah, so last week I noticed the Arizona Cardinals really, really focus on Dalton Kincaid. There is an image going around where there's 4 Cardinals players surrounding Dalton Kincaid.
I saw that, yeah.
I don't think we're going to do the same thing, and I think Dalton Kincaid is the biggest weapon that they have right now. I think highly touted coming out of college, had a really, really good rookie season that was overshadowed by what Laporta did over in Detroit. But if you look at Kincaid compared to other rookie tight ends, I mean, he had a really good rookie season. And when you're looking at the wide receiver core, like, Steve and Josh have alluded to, where, a rookie Keon Coleman is the one, right? the one. There's Khalil Shakir, there's Curtis Samuel, and then
Mac Hollins.
And Mac Hollins, which
Mackie.
I love Mac Hollins, and he's like a destroyer of worlds.
Yeah. I miss Mac Hollins. I do.
I do too. I really wish he stayed. But like, the point being is, like, their receiver core is not scaring anybody, but Dalton Kincaid does, and there's a reason. Like, Arizona's, we're hyper focused on him, and Dawson Knox is another Dolphin killer. So the 2 tight ends combined, I think that's where the trouble is. Jordan Brooks and David Long had an up and down game week 1 against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They were brought in because we needed more speed at middle linebacker, right? But who do you have where? Who's covering the tight ends? Who's covering Josh Allen? Like, I am watching to see how Anthony Weaver handles this. This is obviously his biggest test yet.
And that's a good point. You need somebody covering Josh Allen. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's a really good point. Like, you have to designate that.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think
you bring in
the entire game spying Josh Allen, because you're leaving your back end so vulnerable. to tight end.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Do you bring in a fifth defensive back like May and have him spy the
Probably.
whole game? Like that's really
That weapon X position.
right.
The deal.
I like that.
I love that. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if you want one or more matchups because I figure we do one at a time.
Give me another one, Anthony. You've been largely silent down there this show, so give me another one.
I'm absorbing all of your guys' knowledge. That's all I'm doing down here, right? So it's just so good to talk to Dolphins fans, like-minded. And I don't want to steal all the matchups, so I think the one I actually just kind of shifted to when I shifted out of Dalton Kincaid form and went to Josh Allen running the ball for him, I do think that's a huge one. It's maybe the biggest one we have to worry about. I know he only had 39 yards last week, but 2 touchdowns, guys. That's the stat that matters. When they're in the red zone, Josh Allen is a touchdown machine. That's a good question. I'll let one of the other boys handle that one.
All right. So, all right. So, yeah, I agree. I think I agree with what Josh said. You can't spy Josh Allen the entire game. You just can't. But I think what Josh Allen forces you to do is play more zone, which you're keeping your eyes on the quarterback while simultaneously kind of keeping your eyes in coverage. You play man against Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to run all over the yard on you. So I see the Dolphins playing a lot of zone, and I don't know that that's their strength.
No, but I see a lot of hybrid. So I see maybe our linebackers playing zone with our cornerbacks playing, our linebackers and safeties playing zone with our cornerbacks playing man press or something like that, just to try to offset some of the timing and whatnot, while also containing Josh Allen in the pocket and not letting him hopefully scramble as much to improvise.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think this worked really well last time we actually won against them in 2022, that really close game. But I feel like in that game, we had our edge rushers actually dropping back a lot to kind of just throw them off the scent of like what was coming. So occasionally dropping Jalen Phillips back is going to throw him off. He tries to run. I mean, you're not getting past Phillips. I mean, that's why I'm like so hyper focused on like, what is Anthony Weaver going to do here? Like, this is a huge test, division rival. And your biggest problem is don't let this guy run into the end zone.
Yeah. All right. Steve, give me a matchup that you're looking forward to in this game.
I'm interested in seeing how Tua reacts to the pressure of the defense. I'm interested in seeing if Ed Oliver's gonna get in there, or you got the Daquan Jones.
Daquan Jones.
Yeah, Daquan Jones. I mean, these guys aren't sleepers, and I don't know how our interior is compared to our exterior. I like our outsides way better than our inside, and I think this is probably, well, obviously to date, this is our toughest matchup, and it's going to be, I think, throughout the season, because until we get to Green Bay, I don't think that there's going to be interior lineman that we're going to see that's as good as these two. So that's the matchup I'm interested to see how quick he can get the ball out. How that pocket kind of creates for him. I'm interested.
It's Ed Oliver's a problem. Ed Oliver's always been a problem.
Yeah,
no matter
Ed Oliver's a problem.
Yeah,
for sure.
No matter who's playing guard for the Dolphins, Ed Oliver seems to, much like Josh Allen, he seems to have some of his best games against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So with less than ideal guard play, this is why I have Ajita. This is why I stay up at night.
It's not the matchup I'm excited for, but it's the one I'm definitely watching.
Oh, yeah. So give me a matchup you're watching, Josh.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I cannot wait for this game. Right, win, lose, draw. It should be. Hopefully, it's a good game, and hopefully, we're on top. But for me, it boils down to our defensive front against Brown and Dawkins. So they're 2 offensive tackles.
Yeah,
I think because they are the strength of in my opinion. I'm sure Bills fans might disagree, but they are the strength of their offensive line. They are 2 very, very, very good offensive tackles. And I think given how weak their interior offensive line is, If we can make a dent versus their, at least in my opinion, their two best offensive linemen, we win this game, right? So if Calais Campbell, who's a kind of a Swiss Army knife, he can be inside, he can be outside, he can rush, he can drop. JP, hopefully, is not on too short of a snap count. You have Sealer, who had a very quietly good second half against the Jags, and you have our two rookies in Mo and I can't believe I'm drawing a blank out.
Chop.
Thank you, Chop. Jesus, I was trying to think of his real last name, Robinson. I think there's a lot of potential mismatches, and what I love about how we have structured our defensive line specifically is that they're all interchangeable, which allows us to throw 11, 12 different looks of the same base defense to the opposing team. You can put JP on the inside. You can put Calais on the outside. You can put Mo Kamara on the inside. You can put Sealer on the outside and swap them all. And you never know who's rushing, who's eating up blockers for the linebackers to rush, or who's punching and dropping off into coverage. And I think it's going to be that is where the game will be won or lost, in my opinion.
Okay. I agree. I think this game is won and lost in the trenches, which is why the matchup I'm looking forward to is the Dolphins, much kind of riffing off what Steve was saying, Dolphins offensive line against the Bills defensive line, specifically in the running game. The Dolphins they can't go the rest of the season. They can't go throughout this game not running the football or running the football the way they ran the ball against the Jaguars. That's not sustainable.
I have a question for you, Steve.
Not for success. Yes, Steve.
Oh, wait. It's actually in there. Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think that they're going to run the ball more 20? Like if there was an over under on Vegas that was like 22 times, do you think they're going to run it more or less than that?
I think they should run it more than that.
Yeah.
I think they should run it more, but I don't know that they will. That's game script. That's game script. That determines how much they're going to run the football. But the Dolphins are at their best when they're running the ball, when they're running the ball effectively. That's how a Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak offense runs best, is when they're running the ball effectively. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, one would argue that's how all offenses run best. But this offense especially is humming when you're stacking the box and trying to stop
Achane
right. or Mostert or
hot take Jalen Wright going over 100 yards this game.
Hey, I love it. I love it. From gouging you. And this is what the Dolphins need to do. They need to run the football much better than they did against Jacksonville.
So do you think that if the Bills end up winning, it'll be a defensive win over an offensive win? Do you think the offense has an ability to beat the Dolphins?
I think the entire Bills team has the ability to beat the Dolphins.
Yeah.
They, I blame it a lot of it on Josh Allen, but I mentioned Ed Oliver. We've mentioned Matt Milano, who's not going to play in this game. There's a lot of players on the Bills that have just been – they play their best against the Miami Dolphins for whatever reason. I'm not,
I'm going to say it's out of respect.
Okay.
Just so I can sleep better at night.
Let's go with that. All right. So, guys, we're getting up to an hour and 45 minutes we've been at this. We do need to kind of wrap up here soon. So I'm going to get some score predictions from you. Give me some score predictions and give me maybe a bold take for what you think is going to happen in this game. Anthony, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I think it's 24-21 Dolphins, despite the fear in my heart and in my mind. I do think Miami comes out on top in this one. I lowered my score much more than last week's score against the Jaguars after seeing our slow start. I'm kind of pulling back a little bit on our offense until they kind of get the wheels in motion. As everybody's alluded to in this thing, there's a lot of changes on our offense, right? No River Craycraft underneath as like kind of to a safety valve. Play calling was a little rusty, so we'll see what they do. My bold prediction for this one is that if Achane doesn't play, it's Jalen Wright season. Josh just mentioned 100 yards, bold take. I don't want to steal your bold take, so I will also say that Jalen Phillips, he will get 2 sacks in this one.
Hey,
all right,
like it.
Love it. Steve, give me a score prediction, man.
I got 26-23 Miami, but my bold prediction is we win in overtime.
Hey,
Hey,
I
all
love
right.
that. That's
Cool.
terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
I truly do think that the defense is going to be the biggest problem that the Bills give us, and I don't know how we handle their defense with how slow our offense was last game.
Right. My heart can't take this kind of stuff, Steve. The way they won against the Jaguars last week, and then you're predicting an overtime game.
Yeah.
I'm going to be dead by December. That's
Easy,
Good
bro.
football.
Easy.
It's good football.
That's funny. But that's why we do this stuff, man.
yeah. All right, Josh, give me a score prediction, bold take.
Yeah, so score projection 27-23 Miami. I think it's going to be real close. Well, first of all, I think Buffalo jumps out to a lead. I think Miami catches up. I think it stays close until towards the end of the game, and then I think Miami pulls away. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you want a bold take on defense or offense? Because I have one of each.
Give me them both.
All right, so I think, as stated earlier, I think just no matter if A-Chain is in or out, I think Jalen Wright has over 100 yards of total yardage, not just rushing, of total yardage. All right, so receiving and rushing. Defense, I think we'll pick Josh Allen off twice.
All
One
right.
to the house.
Not quite, not comfortable. Not comfortable
I'm
there.
trying to speak for you. Nobody saw me.
All right, so I'm going 27-24. So out of all of us, the
God, those
largest
scores are
margin
close.
of victory predicted here is 4 points by Josh.
Yeah.
Me, Steve, and Anthony all went 3 points. I said 27-24 on last night's show on Nickel City Mafia. I'm going 27-24 tonight. My bold prediction, I was actually going to say the Dolphins pick off Josh Allen twice.
Right.
My bold prediction is one of them is going to be Jordan Poyer.
Oh,
Ooh.
One of those interceptions is going to be Jordan Poyer.
off the bench.
So-
I like it. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Revenge game.
Yeah.
Revenge of what? I don't know, but